I've finally fixed the Bugatti Veyron and then attempted top speed. But it didn't go to plan. Oh no. Something is seriously broken. I've got no power.
When a 4,500-pound part fails to repair a million-pound car, what comes next? Instead of spending even more money, Matt Armstrong searched for a simple 40-pound fix that transformed everything. His journey reveals the hidden challenges of maintaining a Bugatti, the staggering costs of hypercar ownership, and the determination to outsmart a system built around expensive solutions. Could patience and careful thinking succeed where costly repairs failed? The costly failure. The story begins with Matt Armstrong facing the kind of problem that would make most owners of a million-pound Bugatti Veyron despair. The car started up but immediately cut out, trapped in a frustrating loop of failure. After relentless attempts to get help, Matt finally got Bugatti to sell him a replacement fuel control module, a part costing £4,500.
We've got an answer. Bugatti have come through. £4,500 it is for that module.
That's £4,500 for a single electronic component. And the catch was, it could not be returned, no matter what happened. Matt installed the part with cautious hope, but the car's behavior didn't budge. It still powered up and then shut down instantly. The £4,500 were gone, flushed on a repair that did nothing to fix the issue. This moment exposed a harsh reality. The repair process for these hypercars can be as much about money and control as engineering. Bugatti's refusal to accept the part back felt less like customer care and more like exploitation. Yet, for Matt, this wasn't really a defeat, but more of a turning point, you know? Rather than just give in to the system, he moved into a deeper kind of diagnosis, hands-on, like truly involved. The expensive repair had failed, but the car still kept asking for answers. His careful, almost stubborn approach would drag the issue out of hiding, and that's where the true story started. And this costly failure, honestly, acted like a loud contradiction to the whole mystique that Bugatti builds around itself. The brand has this insistence that only their factory should touch these cars, and they throw around eye-watering prices for repairs that sometimes don't even work out. For Matt, it became proof that millions of pounds don't automatically mean solutions, and that sometimes the actual fix is sitting right under the surface, waiting. It also set the mood for what came next, an ongoing clash between one man's determination and an ultra-exclusive manufacturer setup meant to keep owners dependent. The inflated part price, plus the refusal to even engage, made it feel like the company was much more focused on control than on any kind of teamwork. But Matt wasn't finished. His reaction to that challenge is exactly why this story doesn't end in frustration or straight-up defeat. It was the start of a methodical unraveling of what really went wrong with the car and how the real problem was something far simpler and, yes, far cheaper. The expensive fuel control module wasn't the failure. It was a symptom of a system that prioritizes profit over fixing cars. Digging deeper was the only way forward. The methodical diagnosis. Matt Armstrong's approach after the costly failure was pure determination, wrapped in methodical skill. Instead of buying more expensive parts, he decided to diagnose the issue systematically, trusting logic over manufacturer assumptions. He focused first on the fuel pressure, which was mysteriously dropping to zero on one bank of the engine.
But when we read these pressures, we could see one side of the engine when the car was started went to 4.5 bar and the other side dropped to 0.
This inconsistency hinted at a leak or blockage somewhere in the complex system. To pinpoint the problem, Matt located the fuel pressure sensors, hidden behind the rear quarter panel.
After doing a bit of research, I think I can see the fuel pressure sensors sat behind this quarter panel here.
A reminder that even the simplest components in hypercars can be buried deep. He swapped sensors from one side of the car to the other to see whether the fault moved with the sensor, but it didn't. This ruled out the sensors themselves as the cause. He continued by switching vacuum lines and checking every wiring connection, ruling out electrical faults one by one. After hours of meticulous work alongside his father, they finally dropped the fuel tank to inspect what lay beneath. Inside, the real source of the issue emerged: a small rubber hose submerged in fuel for more than 20 years.
But maybe the problem is with the motor. It is a 20-year-old car after all.
Had degraded to the point it was more goo than rubber. This hose had been silently leaking high-pressure fuel, preventing the system from maintaining the pressure needed to keep the engine running. The fix was, honestly, surprisingly simple and not that expensive. A 40-pound submersible fuel hose sourced from a local supplier. That small bit of rubber, it kinda restored the car's ability to build fuel pressure and finally let it run correctly. The lesson was crystal clear. Like, complex and costly parts weren't needed. What it really took was careful observation and understanding of the car's basic mechanics. Matt also traced the degradation back to changes in fuel chemistry. The 2006 Veyron was designed before the UK introduced E10 fuel.
But the Veyron was made in 2006, when E10 fuel wasn't even about. So this isn't even Bugatti's fault.
It had to do with the 10% ethanol, a solvent that eats away at rubber components not made to tolerate it. Matt suspected the previous owner had used E10 instead of the recommended E5. Then, over time, the hose just perished. This wasn't a fault of Bugatti's engineering, more like modern fuel chemistry colliding with aging parts. This whole diagnosis shattered the myth that hypercars are magical machines only fixable by factory specialists. They're still cars, and they're governed by the same physical laws as everything else. They're still subject to wear, aging materials, and environmental factors. Fixing them doesn't need mysticism or endless budgets. It's mostly patience, logic, and hands-on work. That 40-pound fix kinda undercut the entire narrative that Bugatti had built, and it exposed the gulf between genuine mechanical needs and inflated factory prices. Matt's approach showed that independence and knowledge can win against exclusivity and corporate control. Understanding the problem was victory enough to set the stage for what came next: an audacious journey to prove the Veyron's endurance and defy expectations. The road trip decision. With the Veyron finally running as it should, Matt made a bold choice that changed the stakes entirely. Instead of shipping the car on a trailer or keeping it hidden at home, he announced he would drive the 20-year-old hypercar across thousands of miles of European roads. This was more than a test of the car. It was a statement against convention and fear. The planned route would take him through France and Switzerland and into the heart of Monte Carlo, reaching the Bugatti factory in Molsheim along the way. Matt intended to salute the place where the car was born, a place that had repeatedly refused to engage with him during his repairs. Driving the car there himself was both a challenge and a symbolic confrontation. The journey began with a series of refueling stops that became something of a running joke. The Veyron averaged around 13 miles per gallon, and in just the first stretch before the Channel Tunnel, Matt spent over 230 pounds on fuel. Yet, despite the costs, the car ran perfectly. Its W16 engine delivering effortless power as it was designed to do. For the first time since purchase, Matt experienced the Veyron as a grand tourer rather than a broken project. The car crossed borders and stopped traffic, proving that a 20-year-old hypercar could still inspire awe when properly maintained and driven. People took notice, and with every mile, Matt's mission grew in significance. But the biggest moment was yet to come, arriving at the Bugatti factory itself. It was a weekday afternoon when Matt rolled up, expecting history and heritage, perhaps a welcome or engagement. Instead, he was met with haunting emptiness. The gates, the museum, and the factory, all deserted. The glowing reputation of exclusive luxury stood contradicted by silence and abandonment. Matt stood alone in the parking lot of the world's most prestigious hypercar maker, a man who had fixed one of their masterpieces against all odds yet had nowhere to turn for recognition or support. This stark contrast between the community Matt tried to build and Bugatti's isolation was a profound moment that transcended the road trip. His choice to drive the car this distance, facing challenges both mechanical and symbolic, was a testament to independence and perseverance. It was a journey not just to Monaco, but toward changing the narrative about who controls these extraordinary machines and what it means to own one. The road would test the car's resilience even further, pushing both Matt and the Veyron into moments neither expected, but both were ready to meet head-on. The empty factory. Arriving at the Bugatti factory, Matt expected to find a place alive with history and passion, a sanctuary where the finest hypercars are born and cared for. Instead, he was met with silence and emptiness. It was a weekday afternoon, 3 o'clock, and the sprawling facility felt abandoned. The employee parking lot had only a handful of cars, and the famous museum that tells the brand's story was closed and desolate. There were no workers, no security, no visitors, nothing but quiet stillness. This stark scene contrasted sharply with the image Bugatti projects to the world. Known for cultivating an aura of exclusivity and mystique, Bugatti insists that only its factory can touch these cars. They charge astronomical prices for parts and services and refuse to engage with independent mechanics. Yet here was this man, Matt Armstrong, who had defied those rules by fixing a Veyron with his own hands, standing alone at the gates of the very place that had tried to keep him out. The emptiness was a visual metaphor for the gulf between Bugatti's public image and its real-world accessibility for owners. Unlike brands such as Ferrari or Lamborghini, which welcome enthusiasts with museums, tours, and community events, Bugatti seemed closed off, distant, and uninterested in fostering that kind of relationship. For Matt, this was a moment of profound realization. He saw how Bugatti's vision of ownership wasn't really about connection or community, more like exclusivity through distance. They want customers so wealthy that they basically have no motive to engage with the brand except for straight-up transactions. The cars get bought, stored, and every so often serviced by the factory or its network. But the whole notion of an owner driving their Bugatti and actually stepping into the heritage, yeah, that idea felt completely alien to them. Matt could feel the sting of being left out, but he wouldn't let it grind him down. Standing there, he knew he wasn't part of their world, and honestly, that was fine. His path had always been about dismantling barriers and making it clear those machines are for everyone ready to learn them, not only the ones protected behind factory walls. This empty factory, it was a claim more intense than any press release could manage. It said the age of secrecy and tight control around hypercars is loosening. A fresh chapter was arriving, one built on independence, openness, and real empowerment, for owners and mechanics too. As Matt finally walked away from the silent gates, the road ahead kept promising even more trials, not just for the car, but also for the man who refused to quit. What happened next revealed the true resilience of this remarkable machine and the stubborn spirit of its caretaker. Trials on the road. The Swiss Alps tested the Bugatti Veyron on a scale no garage repair could anticipate. As Matt pushed higher into the mountains, warning lights flashed relentlessly. Brake light, headlight, EPC engine faults. And then, the worst happened. The transmission refused to engage any gear, stranding him nearly 2,500 meters above sea level. The triumphant journey was unraveling in front of his eyes. True to form, Matt didn't panic. Armed with his diagnostic tools and steady hands, he set about finding the cause. He traced the fault to the brake light switch, a tiny component under the dashboard responsible for telling the system when the brake pedal is pressed. The switch had physically jammed, preventing the car from recognizing braking input and therefore not allowing gear selection. With one simple twist, Matt freed the sticky switch and brought the Veyron back to life. It was an almost comedic moment considering the car's complex engineering: 16 cylinders, 4 turbochargers, and 10 radiators immobilized by a cheap, understated brake light switch. This underscored a profound lesson. The most advanced machines still rely on basic parts that can fail in humble ways. As Matt laughed at the irony, other challenges unfolded. His friend's Lamborghini Murcielago began leaking fuel catastrophically, forcing them to abandon it at a Swiss garage for safety reasons. This supercar, another 20-year-old icon, was succumbing to the same age-related issues: rubber degradation combined with exposure to ethanol fuels, highlighting that no matter the badge, time demands maintenance. Meanwhile, Liam's bright pink Audi R8 just kinda pulled in unwanted attention from Swiss police, like sooner than expected. They got him to stop, issued a fine of £250.
There's my license.
Okay. Do you have also ID? Your ID?
That is my ID.
Driving license, yes?
Then searched the car for anything illegal, like modifications that weren't allowed.
Need the driving license and the paper of the car.
It was one of those reminders that rolling a rare, eye-catching car across borders still brings scrutiny, and plenty of complications that aren't really about mechanical struggles at all. Even with all the setbacks and annoying detours, Matt kept pushing forward with the Veyron, showing off both endurance and that stubborn commitment he had. Any problem he sorted out felt like an argument against the usual preconceived ideas. The whole "these things are fragile" angle, or that hypercars are somehow too complicated to live with. This wasn't only about mechanic skill, more like proving that maintenance, patience, and resolve can open the door to performance, even when the machine gets treated like it's too precious or too complicated to use freely. All these trials, the stuck switch, the abandoned Lamborghini, the police stop, kinda draw a clear picture of what it actually means to own and drive a hypercar out in the real world, away from showrooms and tidy service centers. It's this mix of extraordinary power and regular day-to-day hassle, magic, and mundane stuff tied together, even if it doesn't look like it from the outside. As Matt neared Monaco, the final leg of this grueling expedition awaited.
5-hour drive from Switzerland into Monaco, and we're hoping Matt can come up with another solution.
Carrying with it the hope of redemption and celebration, not just for the car, but for everyone who dreamed of mastering the impossible. Victory and implications. As Matt Armstrong neared Monaco, the final leg of his epic journey was filled with anticipation and celebration. After all the mechanical hurdles, the costly failures, and moments of doubt, the Bugatti Veyron was running smoothly, defying expectations for a 2-decade-old hypercar. Driving this masterpiece through the streets of Monte Carlo was not just about reaching a destination. It was about proving a point to the world and to the manufacturers who doubted independent mechanics. Crowds gathered around the Veyron at the famous casino, their curiosity and admiration palpable. People paused their routines to witness a car once deemed unfixable and immobile transformed into a moving spectacle of both engineering and determination. Matt stood amidst the crowd, visibly moved, knowing that this moment was the culmination of years of perseverance, skill, and a drive to break down barriers. This triumphant arrival sent ripples beyond the streets of Monaco. It was a message to the hypercar industry that exclusivity and secrecy no longer define ownership. Matt had demonstrated that with patience, knowledge, and courage, owners could reclaim control over their vehicles without relying solely on factories with unreachable service policies and inflated prices. In a final symbolic act, Matt took the remaining money he had calculated for fuel, over £2,000, and risked it all at a roulette table, doubling it on black. This gesture echoed the spirit of the entire endeavor: bold, uncertain, but ultimately victorious. It was a fitting close to a journey that was as much about chance and risk as it was about skill and tenacity. Beyond the celebrations, Matt knew the story was far from over, like not even close. The chapter he had just written, the the 40-pound hose fix, the failed 4,500-pound module, the 1,000-mile road trip was only part of a larger battle. Honestly, the ongoing saga between independent mechanics and hypercar manufacturers had been given new life by his journey, challenging the status quo and inspiring a whole set of owners and enthusiasts. You know, the real ones. The silence of Bugatti's empty factory echoed louder than any official statement. It symbolized a shift in power where knowledge and determination could sort of dismantle the myths that kept owners dependent and quietly paying exorbitant costs. Matt's work proved that transparency and access to information are the true keys to preserving these masterpieces for the future. This video became more than a road trip. It was a bit of a manifesto, really. It heralded the end of the era where factory control was absolute and the start of a new age where owners and independent professionals could operate with confidence, plus community support. It showed that hypercars are still cars, machines that can be understood, cared for, and driven freely by people who are willing to learn, even if it takes time or some awkward trial. Matt Armstrong did not just fix a Bugatti. He rewrote the narrative around what ownership means in the hypercar world. Armed with a simple 40-pound hose, a stuck brake switch, and relentless resolve, he carved a path for anyone who believes that passion and know-how can challenge even the most entrenched systems. Somehow, Matt Armstrong's journey reshaped how we see Bugatti, independence, and the true meaning of ownership. With patience and determination, he proved that the most exclusive cars aren't beyond repair with everyday skills. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, hit like and subscribe for more incredible automotive journeys. What should Matt tackle next? Let me know in the comments. And when you're ready for another unbelievable automotive story that proves passion can overcome impossible odds, watch the next video shown on your screen.